Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott Circlin with CircWorks, back with day 2 of my video journal, 100 Days of Creating Comics. And this is basically where I set aside 30 minutes a day to work on my own personal comic book projects. And again, this is something that a lot of people are doing. It's kind of a thing that started and snowballed, and so there's a bunch of different people doing it. So this is my version of that, and I'm going to kind of go and talk about my process. And of course, everyone's process is different. That's why it's really cool to watch all these other people who are working on their comic book projects and how they do things. So I'm just going to talk about how I do it. And so where do I start off? Well, usually you want to brainstorm, or you want to start generating ideas. You take notes. There's a number of different ways to do it. The way that I do it, and what I find works best for me, is I do what's known as a mind map. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's kind of a non-linear way of taking notes. So, the standard traditional way of taking notes, you have a jot list, A1, 2, 3, 4, and you go down. Unfortunately, that's not very flexible because, oh, I forgot this should go in here, which I guess if you're working digitally, if you're like in a note-taking, app or something like that, you can always take the cursor and pop in whatever you want. But still, I find, usually when I take notes, I want to do it, oh, my back screen just went off. Anyway, usually when I take notes, I want to make sure that I just want it to be more free-form. It just seems more organic when I'm working on paper. So anyway, mind maps again. So this is a book. It may be out of print. This is an old thing. I don't know. For a while, it was kind of it was more of a thing. A lot of people were doing it. I still find it really helpful. So it really gets in depth. I mean, this is kind of that's what one kind of mind map is, and the idea stems from a center point. So it's kind of like a tree. You plant a seed, and then it just kind of branches off. And that's basically the gist of it. This book gets really into detail, and it's really goes in depth. I haven't even read through the whole thing, but for the most part, just the basic idea. Like I said, you start from a center point. I don't know if you can see. Here's some of mine. Let's see what we got. So here's one that I did. Now I used to do I still do game design contract wise, but I used to work for a game studio, and we were developing a Facebook game, which is kind of like a monster style, like a Pokemon style fighting game. And in the beginning stages, we're trying to figure out kind of what the concept was. So if you look here, you can see in the center, it's, what is it, Pokemon game. And then I've got all these different concepts. So one of them, let's see what it says. So I've got this picture of the Earth. It's real hard to see, but there's a picture of the Earth. What is this? Open, close, hybrid. This one. Is that the? Oh no, here's another one. Okay, I was looking at the wrong one. Sorry. Okay, so here. So let's see. Pokemon game concepts. So right here I've got a little gear, and that says factory. So one of my concepts was, well, maybe there's a factory where you create your own monsters, and then I've got a little another branch off here that says amalgamation. So maybe you combine different monsters, and that splits off to something that says Mad Lab, which is like a mad laboratory. It says you are the apprentice. Maybe you start off as an apprentice and you gradually go up, like a mad scientist apprentice. Create different monsters by combining different chemicals, gene splicing. It just branches off from there. And then I've got another note here: monsters fuse with you. And then it says bond with monsters. Avatar takes on characteristic of monsters, and it just constantly splits up. That's one idea. Then there's another one that's got a little. I drew a little flower, and the little visual references help a lot for me. You know, it just because we're working visual, we're visually telling stories. But it says cultivate, grow, and then from there it splits off. Raise from eggs, magic beans or magic seeds. And I've got another one. There's a little bone here. It says lost civilization, dig for monsters, bring to life. You're an archaeologist, adventure. And I've got another little book here, icon or a little graphic. It says Monster School, and then it's got Harry Potter, classes. You are monster, how to, I don't know what that is. These are messy. So, and that's kind of the whole idea. You're just getting your thoughts out there. So anyway, these are all different avenues that we could have gone for this game. The game was called Miscrits, and it didn't really end up going any of these routes. It's actually pretty similar to what Pokemon is, which I would have rather, you know, done something a little more original. But anyway, it was very successful. So, you know, what do I know? So anyway, so that's kind of the gist of the mind maps. So I think what I'll do now, I think I'll create a mind map based on one of my characters and kind of show you how it works in action. Okay, so I've got my blank sheet of paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my characters from Young and the Dead and just kind of show you how I originally kind of not plotted out, but just developed that character into what it eventually came to be. So I'll show you, this is the character I'm going to talk about. His name's Lloyd Garrett. He's sort of a Dungeons and Dragons kind of a LARPer type. This takes place in the 80s. I don't know if LARPer was a term back then or if that's more recent, but anyway, so that's him. Here he is. That's him in color. So anyway, so let's just start off here. So, I'll write the name of the character. So, Lloyd Garrett. That's the name. And then, sometimes it helps to do some colors, so we'll do that. So, what about this guy? Let's start with his appearance. I don't know if you can read that. Maybe I should write in a... So that's just going to branch off of here, and then from there, so let's see. I wanted him to have kind of long feathered hair, so long hair. And you can always, you know, if we're taking visual notes here. So he's got long brown hair. So I mean, we can even, you know, do a real quick sketch. I want it to kind of be feathered. This is in the 80s. You know, I can draw a little sketch just to remind me when I've got it in my head what his hair is going to look like. Let's see. He's going to have I think maybe like a green army jacket. And we can even make that green. So green army jacket. And sometimes maybe these different splinters you want to do in all different colors. It's really up to you. Whatever's going to help you remember things the best way. Ripped jeans. And excuse my, you know, my handwriting is pretty messy. Usually always wears a heavy metal tee shirt. So, and those would probably change. I think right now he's got like you can kind of see, it's like a little, you can see the Aussie pointing through, but you know, he might have different t-shirts as the series goes on. He's got glasses. So for this, maybe I'll just kind of draw the type of glasses he has. It's like kind of these big glasses with they've got the two little things that separate there. So this is all part of his appearance, and a lot of the characters in my story are kind of based loosely on people that I grew up with or things. And there was this kid that I think it was a members only jacket, which I changed it around to this like the green army jacket. But
the kind of the joke was that he always had something in his jacket. He at the moment's notice, whenever he needs something, he'd pull it out. So kind of like a Felix the cat. So maybe even by his jacket, just for that, maybe we can even draw like a, if I can remember what he looks like a Felix the cat. That'll help me kind of remember. Oh yeah, Felix the cat. He can pull anything out at a moment's notice. Okay, so just little ideas that'll help you remember things. The idea behind this character, like I said before, he's kind of a D&D kind of nerd, LARPer guy. He's kind of in his own world with his own, his own little group of friends. But and this is a zombie story. When the zombie apocalypse happens, I mean, he kind of goes from zero to hero. He's the one that's been practicing with his homemade weapons and things like that. And so he really steps up in a world where, there's another character who's kind of a jock, and he's the popular kid. But when things change, I mean, this isn't the world that he knows. So he's out of place in the world. He doesn't really know what to do. Where this kid steps up, and he just seems all these skills that seem like just were irrelevant in the real world come into play, and so he kind of steps up and kind of becomes the hero. So skills, skills, nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills. So he builds his own weapon. So he's actually has like a Thor's hammer that he made in wood shop. And again, we talked about the bag. He's got the bag of weapons, so, weapons. And we can even we can link back to that jacket or whatever. These can go any way, and they can group back in. Personality. Let's see. I'm filming here, buddy. As my son's walking by. Okay, so personality. So he's kind of the peacekeeper. So maybe we'll just draw a little peace sign here. He's the guy that in this group of characters, there's a lot of butting heads and people don't really get along, and so he's the guy that steps in and tries to make sure everyone at least tries to get along and shows people that they're working towards a common goal to try to hopefully find a cure for this this outbreak. So he's the peacekeeper. He's and I guess, I mean, I'm sure you're getting the idea. So I don't know how much more I'm going to go into that. One of the things you can do when you're working with different characters is you can show how they relate to other characters. So I have another character called Ox, that's short for Oksana, and she's kind of the tomboy, and she's kind of the muscle. And she, when we first introduced to her, she shows up with Lloyd. So they're kind of buddies. They kind of off screen before all the action started. Eventually originally we're following another character, and these two just kind of show up. So there's probably some backstory, what happened before, or how they met and how they, they survived before they met up with the rest of the group. So you could take one of these characters, this other character, Ox, and kind of show how they feel. I kind of picture them as both sort of feeling like they're the protector of each other. Like I said, she's kind of the muscle, he's kind of the planner. But they're kind of a good fit. So, and you can do that with all the different characters. He's kind of the peacekeeper, so he tries to find the good in everyone and find out what their skills is and how they can help. So he might not be the best character to do this with, but other characters that kind of butt heads, but you can show, well, this person doesn't really like this person because of this, and those dynamics will come into play in your story and everything. So anyway, the other thing, like a backstory, we could write backstory here. Again, all these characters in this story, most of their parents have succumbed to this zombie outbreak, and they're trying to find a cure and hopefully reverse that, so they can get their parents back. So that really has a big effect on a lot of these characters. A lot of times they're thinking, well, you know, my whole world is gone. So I wanted him to not really deal with that because he's kind of got to be a little stronger than that. So I figured maybe he's like a latchkey kid. You know, I guess backstory here. Backstory. So maybe, you know, we could just draw a little key to represent latchkey, and then we can write that underneath or whatever, and have all these connect here. This is messy. I'm just because I'm usually it's for myself. Anyway, so so either he's a latchkey kid, or maybe he's a foster kid, or something where maybe, you know, his bonding with his family isn't that strong, or really doesn't have a family, so he's more able to focus on this new world around him. Anyway, I could go on and on and on about this, but that's kind of the gist of the mind mapping and how it works. And you can do this with anything. This is a character, but you can do it with you know, your plot. Basically anything that you're trying to brainstorm, and this is the way I do it. If you haven't done it like this, you might want to give it a try, see if it works out for you. So anyway, that's the end of day 2. I will see you tomorrow. That is all.